Hi, in this video we'll talk about the dynamic data masking. This is one of the new security enhancement that Microsoft has added into SQL Server 2016. Apart from always encrypted and row-level security. But in this video we'll focus more on dynamic data masking. In the earlier versions of SQL Server, we have something called transparent data encryption or TDE to protect the data at the table or column level using industry standard encryption algorithms. But sometimes you may just want to mask the data or hide the data from particular set of users in your organization or outside of your organization. I mean, every organization has to store their sensitive data in some kind of databases. Either it can be personal identification number or date of birth, emails or credit card information or any other sensitive data. Although every company has its own policy how they want to handle the sensitive data, but in general, most likely is that they would like to mask the data for sure for most of their users. Let's say in this case we in AdventureWorks database, we're going to look at email addresses. How we going to so in adventure in this situation we identified some sensitive information like email addresses, credit card, and also the social number, which is the personal identification number. We consider that as a sensitive information and we would like to hide the data. So so before we do anything, we should enable this feature. The way you enable this feature in SQL Server 2016 CTP 2.0 and 2.1 is just turning on this trace flag. Although this might change when it coming to the actual release or when RTM or the actual release of SQL 2016. So let's go ahead and run the trace flag, and so this in this table person.email address, every person is linked with an email address using this table. And then if you look at the credit card data, it is stored in the sales.credit card. So we would like to mask this credit card number and expiration month. And we would like to, I mean, there is no SSN column for the person.person table, but we would like to add that column and probably also mask that data as well. So for all these three maskings, we will use three different functions that SQL Server has introduced. But first, let's go ahead and add this column to the person.persons table. So let's go ahead and add. So let's go ahead and add some data to that column, which will act as our SSN numbers for the for the employees in our person.person catalog. So let's look at the data. So here we have the data for the table for that we added. So we'd like to mask this data. So like I mentioned, there are three masking functions: default, email, and partial. The partial allows you to customize the masking functionality of a string or an integer. So let's go and look at the first one, the partial. So here, like I just showed you how that I added a column to the person.person, and we would like to mask that. The way we would like to mask the SSN is we would like to leave the last four digits just a plain text, because we want our customer service or employee service to be able to authenticate the user based on their last four digits of their SSN. So they would like to see the data. So we would only like to mask the first five digits or the first five characters. So and starting from 0. So we would like to so this is how the partial function works. So the syntax here is alter the column and add the masked for feature with the function partial, and this is how we want to mask it. So let's go ahead and run this syntax. And if you look at the person.person table, the data is not masked yet because I logged in as myself as sysadmin. That means I might be having the I inherit the permission called unmask. The unmask allows you to unmask the data. So because I already have that permission, I'm able to see the data. But here we will go ahead and create a test user um, without a login. So that user already exists. So let's go ahead and grant that grant a select statement for that user to the table, and then let's go ahead and run this run this statement. Because this user doesn't have the unmask function, you can see the data has been masked. So we are not changing the data in the database or in the table, but this is as the data is retrieved from the database, this masking function is applied to the data and then presented to the user. So that's how it works. It's just a presentation layer, but the data itself is still not masked. So I mean, not the in the data, so in the database, so it is not so yeah, that's what I just wanted to let you guys know. And then so that's how we mask using partial. Let's look at the sales dot credit card. Here we would like to mask everything, we don't want to leave anything. So if you look at the credit card data, the credit card numbers, so here we would like to just mask the entire column because we don't want any numbers to be shown. So for this case we use something called the default function. So we'll go ahead and let's say alter table sales dot credit card, add mask with function equal to default. Let's go ahead and run this syntax, and let's grant the test user privileges to select sales dot credit card, and let's run this syntax. So here you can see the credit card number is completely masked with X all over every digit. That's how you mask that is how you mask the character data. So here the data type is a varchar or nvarchar, doesn't matter. So but the this changes when you mask an integer data. So the expression month is a tiny int. If I try to mask that column with the same function, you will not see an X, but you will see a 0. So let's go ahead and run the same query again. So you see the expiration month is now updated or is viewed or presented as zeros. So that's how you use a default masking function. Let's go ahead and see the email. So like I just mentioned before, so we have this table where all the email addresses are stored. We would like to mask not the entire thing. What we want to do is we want to mask the first letter of the email address and then the domain. We want to show them that those two characters, but the rest should be masked. So for that we do we use a function called email. um, that is part of the three functions that one of the three functions that Microsoft has released as part of this feature. So alter table person.email address, alter column, add masked with function email. So let's go ahead and run that syntax, and let's grant the user email address. Now let's execute as a test user and then run the syntax. So you can see here the email addresses have been masked, leaving the first letter and the domain empty, and the domain as it is. So that's how we do it. You can also drop the mask functionality. So here you would say, in this case, alter table person.person, alter column ssn drop masked. So that's how you drop the mask feature. So that completes our presentation here. So hopefully you understood the masking functionality in SQL Server. So we went through different masking functions called which is like default, email, and partial, and we looked at masking character data or varchar data, and also integer data. And we also looked how we can use the partial data to mask partial data, not the complete data. All right, thank you for watching video, and take care.